Hey, how's it going?
Howdy.
What's up?
Rick, Beard, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah? Yeah? Are you ready to talk about episodes 3 and 4?
Of course.
Okay. I'm excited to talk about episodes 3 and 4. Are you, R2?
I am, but I'm extremely tired right now, and I don't know why. I'm sorry.
R2 might fall asleep on us. We are
I
recording
know.
this, so if he
It's
does
been a
fall asleep.
long day. That's all I gotta
You
say.
you have like two modes: giggle and sleepy.
It
Giggle
pretty
and
much
sleepy.
is.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. But welcome to the channel. It's After the Weekend, and we are reviewing our part 2 of... What is it, R2?
11/22/63.
Okay, episode 3 and 4. So now everybody knows what the hell we're talking about if they were new. Damn it, JT.
Also known as episode Tres and Cuatro in Espanol.
Huh? Yeah. Okay. Well, if you did not join us for part 1 of our review of this show, we have a special recap from Beard of the Liberty here for us. You
No
ready to do
pressure.
this? No pressure,
Yeah.
man.
No
Here you
pressure. Oh boy. It's hideous. Get it off the screen. All right. So at the behest of his late friend Al, we find Jake Epping stepping into the past through a broom closet and finding himself in 1960 and to basically follow instructions from Al on to attempt to prevent the assassination of JFK. He takes on the name of James Amberson and starts kind of following some of those tips, starts following after a Russian expat that is meeting with some shady people, and he's getting close. And then that's when time really starts pushing back. And he just kind of decides after a couple of events that he can't do this anymore. And so he gives up and decides to take on one thing that he thinks he might be able to change. And that is the fate of, I forgot his name.
Harry.
Harry, there we go. He tries to change his fate of who in 2016 is an old man, but in 1960 is a young boy, wants to change the fate of Harry and try to prevent tragedy from taking members of his family. And we finished the episode with a local, Bill, finding out that something isn't right with Jake because he's found some of his notes, including future newspaper articles.
Nice job.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Just couldn't remember the dang name.
It's okay.
That's okay. I almost said Lee Harvey Oswald.
It's Harry. It's Harry. The
Harry.
guy's name is Harry, or the kid's name is Harry. Whatever decade you're in.
Yes.
Kid or man. Well, we're excited to review this. So episode 3 and 4. Now, Rick, this is again a reminder to everybody. This is a first watch for you, and this was so you've been excited because every time you watch a new episode, you either text me or call me how much you liked it. So are you still liking the show?
I'm liking it, but I will say I feel like these two episodes did kind of slow down a little bit.
Okay.
And I don't mean that like in a negative way, but it kind of like the first two were just so high tension.
Mm-hmm.
This one was kind of like almost like trying to like just let everybody collect their breath.
Yeah, because with episode 1 and 2, you got a lot of like look at Beard. He's trying to catch his breath, just repeating what happened in the 2 episodes. So it really kind of throws you in, and kind of you have to really kind of catch up to keep up. This one you can kind of watch without always paying attention. These 2 episodes, but they're good episodes. There are some key things that happen in these episodes. There's things that little Easter eggs and stuff like that you can keep a lookout for.
Now, one thing that happens in these 2 episodes that, again, I don't know if it's just from first watch, why I'm just not noticing things, but like time jumped tremendously.
Yes, it did. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene that shows you how it jumps. So let's just go ahead and get going with the first episode 3. And this is Other Voices, Other Rooms. So yeah, it literally just picks up right where where Billy and James' character go to Dallas, right after taking care of Frank in the second episode.
I'm not gonna lie. There's a little bit of me as I watch this where I feel like James Franco's Harry Potter and Billy is Ron.
Oh yeah,
Like it's like the southern version of Ron.
and Sadie is what would she be? Hermione? Is that what you're saying?
No, not necessarily. Just those two. Like there's something about them.
They're bros. They're buddies.
They're
Like,
bros, but they've got a little bit of a Harry Potter and Ron Weasley thing going on.
Yeah, they're in this episode. They really kind of you see their, especially in the beginning, they kind of get used to each other, and then you see their friendship kind of grow, right?
Yeah.
One of the funny scenes I always liked was the scene in the hotel room when they're first traveling together, and James's character wakes up and freaks out, and he thinks he's like choking out Frank, and he's actually choking out Billy. And Billy's like, "Stop hurting me!"
He scrambles over, grabs a gun, he's holding the gun on him in his tidy whities.
Yeah. And there's a couple scenes where they go out on the town, and he's like, Billy's like this. It's like he's almost never been with a woman or something, because he's always like kind of pervy. He's like always wants to be with a chick.
Well, I almost got the impression.
Where he kind of knew everybody and they all knew him. So I wouldn't imagine his options exactly were plentiful.
Yeah, so he was all about trying to get with the ladies too on their little travels. I think Bill is one of my, if not my favorite character on this show. It is one of my favorites. He's just a fun kid. And then so they go to Dallas, and James or Jake Epping basically tells Billy like how it all happens. Like they actually go to the site. This is probably filmed there. It looked like it was, right? Filmed in the grassy knoll.
That's location.
Yeah, and I'm curious how they filmed that, by the way, like how they made it look like a 1960 era Dallas, because you don't even see the buildings behind them, and they did it. I think they did a really good job of taking the modern stuff away.
I do want to say, I mean, some of that too. It's just it's the angle, that they're just shooting from. I mean, plus they are probably
removing things.
Well, they probably do have like green screens up in kind of like the backgrounds to help remove anything.
Probably
so that way that they can kind of just keep focus on,
and I haven't
down there.
I haven't been down there. I've been meaning to since I moved to Texas, but I heard that they've kept it pretty clean, and like almost like what it looked like back then, just to honor.
Isn't there even too like a mark in the road where you can be like, this is exactly where he got shot too? Like,
I'm sure I've been there because my early years were in Fort Worth, right next door to Dallas. So I'm sure technically I was there, but I never went there that I can remember. But basically every building that you see in the show, like from those angles, there's kind of historical reasons to
keep it that way,
to keep them. And they may even be, I mean, the book depository, I'm sure, is marked as a historical landmark, but even the surrounding buildings might be.
I mean, it almost looks identical to the pictures that I've seen from the movies and stuff. So it'd be interesting if we were to ask someone if they've been around or saw that event or whatever, if they knew.
Well, I was gonna say the other thing though too. I mean, it always, I mean, one, right? You see so many things that take place, like historical themed, shows, movies, where it's always very consistent. And I almost kind of have gotten the impression they just they keep the downtown as that area as consistent as possible. And I almost think again too, because of filming and just how often it gets used.
Yeah, probably. I would imagine.
And the fact that so many, right? There's always books being written about this. I mean, even
and it's probably something like almost like a memorial too, right? So, so if you've been there in Dallas area and you've been to the grassy knoll, you can definitely comment below and let us know, what it's like. So yeah, they go to Dallas. He kind of tells them what the conspiracy or what he thinks happened. Lee Harvey Oswald shoots from the window. There might be another shooter over there by the tree. He starts pointing out things that he kind of is going to look out for and why he's coming up to this date. So it's 1960 still. And basically they still have to wait until Lee shows up to Dallas, which is 1962, or I believe.
Yeah.
So they have to kind of find a job and find a place to live. And it's funny, they founded they kind of find a town in between Fort Worth and Dallas. It's a made up town, it doesn't exist. But I'm assuming it could be like Arlington. That's in between Dallas and Fort Worth. So at that time, it was probably maybe a small town, but it's a small town in between Fort Worth and Dallas. And Jake becomes a teacher. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Not gonna lie, there was part of me where I was really hoping one of them was going to be a propane salesman.
Darn, we don't have a clip for that. I mean, there's a lot of little small towns in Texas. I've come to find that out. Beard would agree with me. So I'm sure it could be any town between Dallas and Fort Worth during that time, and that's where he was. I don't know why he made up a fake town, but it made sense, I guess. But Jake becomes a teacher, and he gets hired by one of the coolest actors in the world. I would love if he was my boss.
Nick Searchy.
Nick Searchy. If Nick Searchy was my boss, I would do everything it took to get the job done. I liked him in The Justified as the main marshal, and I liked him in as a principal here. He seems like a cool boss. What do you think?
I was gonna say, yeah. Now you're so giddy about it. Would you be like, I want to make him mad, so he yells at me?
I just like the way he approaches people. Like, he's like, look, man, I'm doing you a favor here, or like, hey, he like answers those questions where you think you know the answer, but you don't want to do the wrong answer, kind of boss. And you're like, yeah.
So you don't want to disappoint this man.
So he asked the question. Yeah, basically, he reminds me of quite a other people in my life. But he asked the question about Catcher in the Rye, and at that time, that was a really controversial book. Some schools didn't want it in their library, and he was like, hey, during the job interview, like, what do you think of that book? And because Jake is from a different time period, he was going to say, he just says yes, like, yeah. Like, and
well, but I mean, like, from this era of our time, in the past, like, 20 years,
prostitution in it.
but like, like, definitely, like, in the past, like, 20, 30 years, I mean, anybody who loves reading, anybody who wants to be a writer, J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye is kind of an iconic book. I mean, like, it's a favorite of a lot of people, and it's viewed entirely differently back then. I mean, that book then is viewed how we view some books today.
Yeah, and they, he's like, look, okay, that's a cool answer. You said it, basically freedom of the press or freedom of speech. It should belong in the library. And he appreciated the answer. Maybe he didn't agree with him, but he appreciated how he answered it. So he's just a cool character, and I'm glad that we get to see a lot of him in this film or this show.
I was gonna say, it was very much almost like he agreed with them. He just didn't agree that it should be in a school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his secretary, Mimi,
Miss Mimi,
and don't mess with her. She did want it in the school, so he was like,
Mimi must like prostitutes. That's all I gotta say.
Well, I mean, I got the feeling that question for the interview was actually one that she came up with and gave to him.
Yeah,
the way he words it is he had a pretty good answer to your question.
Yes,
she is a really great character, though. I will say. I mean, like, I really love the character.
I didn't put her in this screenshot. I'm sorry, but she actually is a side character, but she's a potentially good character for the whole show. So, yeah, and that was who was that played by? That's played by.
I'm not familiar with her, but
Tanya Pinkins.
Her character, like, she's so genuine, but there's also like this like little bit of like innocence to her at the same time. And and like one of the things too, like, you know, I get it's a product of its time, but at the same time, it's jarring to watch. Is like he gets hired on, and he's pouring some coffee, and he's like, "Hey, Miss Mimi, do you want a cup?" And like everybody around him like stops dead, you know, like can't believe that he would ask, a white man asking a black woman if she would want a
Yeah,
cup
there's a lot
of
of
coffee.
there's a lot of scenes in episode 3 and 4 that kind of go over that time period in the 60s of how certain people of color were treated. Almost like legit
Well, second
racism.
class, it was second class citizens at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That
it's just I know that happened. It's just such a weird thing to see, though. I mean, even if it's just right, it's acting, it's pretend.
right. And so there's another scene that kind of touches that too with the gas can where
Yeah.
it's further along in an episode and she's had to walk 12 blocks to get gas because she ran out. Jake is driving up to get gas because I believe he was coming from one of the two cities, and I think Dallas or Fort Worth, and he sees her and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, I just got to get some gas, but they won't let me have it because I got to go to the my neighborhood to get it. And he gets really upset and he goes, "Hey, can I just go buy it? Can I buy a tank of gas?" And the guy knows what he's doing. He's like, "No." And this is when you really see how angry Jake can get and aggressive. You see it again in another scene in episode 4, but he's like, "No." Drops a few F-bombs and then tells him, "I'm doing this." And he grabs the can and he throws his money at him.
I love that. I mean, I love that scene because I mean, it makes me go like, I feel like how I would have felt if I experienced that. Like,
Yeah.
what? And
Yeah, it was
yeah.
really pretty powerful, a small but powerful scene in this whole
And,
show.
and you feel for her too because it's terrible. I mean, seeing her that she has to put up with that, and
Yeah, a lot of
Well,
it was just it was
it's awful.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that they don't pull punches when it comes to writing the language for the characters at the time.
Me too. I thought it was
And
good.
yeah, it can make you feel uncomfortable, but that's kind of the purpose because it's to make you realize just how, like, what it would. I mean, we
Be
can't
like.
really feel what it would be
I
like to be
think-
on that side of things, but
Right.
to exist in a world where that was normal
I think
and expected.
I think that was on purpose because if you notice, it makes Jake uncomfortable. So they want the
Yes.
audience to feel uncomfortable as well.
Yeah.
So
Well, it was also too, if you think about it, like it was a moment where, other than Ms. Mimi, the only person was there didn't know Jake. It was kind of like a moment of him like really unleashing, and
Mhm.
he didn't have to be like worried about who was around him, because that's the other thing too. So often he's surrounded by others that he can't act out of place.
that
Yeah.
is true. And he kind of did it like under his breath a little bit too when he did yell at him. But you can tell that if you were looking from afar, that he was very assertive. Then now, like I said, he becomes a teacher, and this is one of the scenes where it shows him jumping ahead of time. And I don't know if you noticed it, Rick, but if you look, he's walking through the hallway once he gets hired on his first day of the job, and he's wearing the same suit, but he's walking through the hallway. And if you look at the banners, it says prom 60, prom 61, prom 62 when he's walking through the hallways.
I didn't catch any of that at all.
Yeah, and then it jumps to
I-
1962. Yeah.
Well, and then like I noticed like the car changed too, because they were driving a POS and
You got a different car.
rust bucket, and then it was like it gradually got, because it seemed like even they might have had like a couple of cars, because
Mhm.
once they get to 62, it's a pretty decent car that they have. And
Yeah. So it's 62. Yeah. So yeah, he's been teaching there for 2 years. He's a full-time teacher. The faculty, the kids seem to really like him. He's doing really well. He's actually looks like he's enjoying himself, I guess. Other than he was in his present time. And then he finds out that he has to chaperone one of the dances, and he bumps into Sadie. She is now the new librarian. Do you remember her from the first episode, Rick?
I do.
She is the one you met at the park. in Dallas, and he goes, "Hey, I've met you before."
She's the one that I met in the park.
Yeah, you met all of us. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So she's not with her husband apparently. So that's interesting, and it's also that was interesting too because she didn't want to say she was divorced because there was a stigma on that too.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah. Well, another interesting thing too that you kind of discover is the fact that
they fell in love
Ms.
at the first sight.
Well, no, but like Ms. Mimi clearly knows what's going on, and so does the principal. You know, like that. I found kind of interesting with this.
Yeah, and the principal even says, you know, make a good woman out of her. Don't like do things discreetly. Like kind of don't do things in the middle of the like hallway. Like be discreet about
Go
what
to the
you're
bungalow on the other side of town and do it.
Get a motel.
Yeah. They don't really tolerate divorcees, but you know, hookup hotels.
Yeah, they don't want none of this out there.
Why is the rum gone?
So, but yeah, it's
Take it to the Pound Town Inn. Let's try to get beer to spit out his drink.
Yeah.
Eyes are watering.
He's excited. James is that Sadie is back, and because he fell in love with her like literally first sight. He was like infatuated with her.
I mean, I can't blame him.
They start dating.
Y'all might not be able to comment because y'all are married, but dang.
No, it's okay. She's styling. She's good. She's a beautiful girl. So it wouldn't shock me if why James was I liked her. So but she's really sweet. She's nice, right? She's kind of kind. She's got that kind soul. So they start dating. That's pretty cool. Their love kind of grows. So that's one of the main storylines, and the other storyline is they finally meet Lee Harvey Oswald in the airport. There, I thought that scene was cool when he walks through the airport. Yeah, when he's like, "Where's the press?" I'm supposed to be famous.
Yeah, you know, he was such a good choice for Lee Harvey Oswald too.
And that was Daniel Weber, or Weber. Weber or Weber? I think it's Weber. Weber. Okay. Yeah, he's you really see him do some cool scenes as well. Like the scene where he flips out at the campaign speech for the senator, or no, it was the senator, was a governor, and he's like, I mean, we see some people do that today, kind of flip out. He's actually really good at it, you know.
Yeah, he really channels that sort of like internalized rage. Like he's almost like socially this mousy sort of person, but you say the wrong thing and he will lose all control.
Yeah, and why does he flip out? Where is he at, Beard? What does he do? Like, what does he flip? Why does he kind of flip out on this governor?
I can't remember.
You didn't take your notes, did you?
I didn't take my notes.
No, do you remember R2? Do you know why?
No, I don't.
Okay, so do you remember the guy? Okay, so the guy from the first season or the first episode, George, he takes him to this rally, and James kind of mentions it. Like George wants Lee to he wants to see if he pops off, like if the governor, this guy running for governor is going to say something that's going to make him enrage, and he does, right? So George is supposedly working for the CIA, so they're trying to see if Lee is going to do what he's going to do. Mm-hmm.
They're putting him intentionally, getting him fired up, making him uncomfortable and angry.
Yeah, they're giving him something. They're giving him they're putting him in a place he doesn't really want to live. They're kind of like edging him on, like, you know, this is happening because they know he with one fall drop of a pencil or something, he could flip out and do something that they want him to do.
Right.
So yeah. Which I think is interesting because James's character Jake even mentions it, where he says they want him to do this because if he does successfully kill this guy running for the governor, I can't remember.
Well, no,
his
it's
name.
not kill him. It's just if they see him, shoot him.
No, but the CIA wants him to do this.
Oh, the CIA. Okay, yeah.
The CIA wants him to do this, so if he does it, then they could get him to do other things or kind of, do things they would like him to.
It's a basic form of social conditioning.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so I just thought that was a crazy scene because, like, you think about if that happens today with some people. So
yeah.
So let's see here. So then you do meet him. They bug his house. They get wireless mics. What do you think of that?
And move in next door
to him in Fort Worth. So this is 1962. Rick, you like the radio stuff. How did you think of that scene? What did you think of that?
Yeah, I thought that was all pretty neat. Other than, I mean, for the time, that was like really impressive technology. But like looking at it now, like those bugs were like gigantic in my opinion. Like, and but again, I mean, if you're not looking for them, you certainly can hide them. But just how many that they hid in the house too, that was also
impressive.
Plus, they had the guy had like a whole range of distances too. Like these are for the farther distances can be closer, and then even like the scene too where they're planting them. That was interesting to watch. As they were just trying to figure out like where can I put this, where can I put that.
Yep.
I like the easily missable kind of throwaway line that they get wireless power.
So
I mean, it doesn't boggle my mind that exists, but for the timing, for like the year that this takes place.
Well, but I mean, it's really done with like it's just radio waves,
right?
I mean,
essentially, I don't think it's like wireless like nowadays.
It's very short distance, but
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, and Tesla was able to do wireless power long before this,
but it's essentially it's a like a crystal radio. I mean, that's really what it is. That's
because they're next door to they can see through the window like to where Lee's at with his wife and baby. And the first person the CIA wants him to go after is General Edward Walker. I guess he was running for Texas governor. I think that actually happened. I think his attempt of suicide actually happened. So, I think the whole bugging scene was funny because when they went underneath the building and then time pushed back and like attacked Billy with spiders.
What was funny is the earlier that day, it was the memorial for my grandfather, and we were at the location we were walking around outside, and there were daddy long legs all over the place. Huge. I've never seen daddy long legs this big, and little Spidey was like super freaked out by him. That all made me think of him.
Made you think of that scene? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this episode was kind of a filler, I guess, a little bit, like kind of catching you up to like getting you to 63. What happened in between? He meets Sandy, and you finally get to see Lee Harvey Oswald, and what goes on there. And one thing I thought was also funny in this episode was they start speaking in Russian. He's like, "Dang it! I could have spent the last 2 years learning Russian."
Yeah. Well, that.
Yeah.
And then I forget if it happens in this episode or the next, but Lee Harvey's mom, who we see in the top middle there, who's like, "Quit talking to the baby in Russian."
Yeah. I don't think that would happen today either. Yeah, I remember that. And the other person that another historical person you do meet in this episode is kind of in the beginning when they celebrate Jake getting his job as a teacher. They go to like a strip nightclub in Dallas, and you meet Jack Ruby. And Jack Ruby is the mafia guy or mafia boss or gangster that shot Lee Harvey Oswald after he was coming out of that courtroom. So you get to meet Jack Ruby as well. And I have a feeling you're going to come across him a couple times. So really cool. Now, episode 4, again, it kind of expands on the relationship of Jake and Sadie. And then you also you see that reenactment of Lee Harvey Oswald with his rifle picture. Which I thought that was they laughed at him. They thought he was silly looking.
What was kind of funny is I've seen that picture, and I don't think I ever realized there was a staircase to the right of him in it. Like, I always thought he was like standing in his front yard. I didn't realize he was like almost in like I don't know what you'd call that, like a porch area or like
Well, I mean, that is kind of his yard. They don't really have much space.
No, but like I thought it was like in his front yard of like his house. Like,
I thought he had a white picket fence.
Yeah, because I always remember
see.
the fence in the background, and I always thought he was standing in front of like a tree right in his front yard. So it was like weird because I had to go back and like look it up, and I was like, shoot, I'm like, yeah, this is identical. I never realized
they did a really good job.
Really the setting, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure whenever that picture's taken and the camera switches back to Jake and Bill and they're looking at the actual picture, I'm pretty sure that is our real world Lee Harvey Oswald in that photo.
Probably.
I mean, and they nail it. They absolutely nail it.
Yeah, just like you should nail this like button. If you're watching.
That's right.
But it was kind of funny because his wife thought he looked kind of silly, right? He was like, "You look silly with that gun. Like, what are you doing?" Like,
what were the papers that he was holding though? That was
it's I believe it's the newspaper. People would do that in the day to note when you took the photo. It's the newspaper.
It's either that the headline might be something important to him that nobody else really cared about, but yeah.
But you can also see the date on it.
Yeah.
I have photos from like my grandfather that did the same thing. They just had so they know what date the photo was taken. See, in digital world, and back then you didn't. So, but you do see how like he's just he can be triggered very easily. He can get kind of angry. He's like, before this scene, he's like cleaning his gun and like putting it back together again and timing himself. And he's very serious about that until the baby starts crying and he kind of like cuts out of that. He like switches personalities almost. It's like, okay, daddy's coming, which is that's pretty odd, right? A lot of people don't really do that. So the fact that he can switch like that on a dime is pretty interesting. So you do get to really get the inside beat of him. Now the other thing with it, like I said, you do get more of the relationship with Jake and Sadie, but you find out she's really not separated from her husband or divorced, and he's a little nuts.
Mr. Clothespin.
Yeah. I still didn't get what they were talking about.
I had to look that up.
Yeah, I had to look it up too. So I'll let R2 take it.
I looked it up.
Wait. Should we say something first? I don't have anything for this, so like I don't. Hold on.
The tree touched me.
That is uncomfortably appropriate.
This is a warning.
So yeah, she kind of talks about they had some marital issues, and the thing that he got into was putting a clothespin at the end of his tally cracker. And I had to look it up, like what happened in this episode, and there was somebody who like wrote an article, and apparently like that was kind of like a fetish for some people, some men back in that time. And that what that came from was like an old wives' trick, like to keep little boys from fondling themselves.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
huh.
That's why we get that line later on when Jake says, "Did your daddy put that on you?" No, I bet it was your mommy, wasn't it? Yeah, but yeah, it was yes, that is appropriate. So apparently there was some let's see, the clothespin theory Stephen King used was some people thought would account for like the psychosis of like serial killers like Ted Bundy. So it was kind of, I think, and it may be expounded upon in the book, but I think it was kind of to show how actually kind of maybe unhinged this guy actually is too.
Yeah, so we're coming across like a few people that could be unhinged. Him, Lee, and again you see Jake, because so Jake, after he tells him the mommy thing, he tells him, "Don't ever come back. You're going to divorce her. Get the heck out of here." And he's very aggressive, like he was towards that guy at the gas station.
Yeah,
you see him even kind of like lose his cool a little bit, and Jake is a pretty cool dude so far, but you see him do that.
I will say too, I can't think of his name right now, but the actor is T.R. Knight, who he spent quite a few years on Grey's Anatomy. But yeah, for as crazy as he was, I mean, he did a great job though in this role. I mean,
yeah, he did.
He was. he was
Johnny
good.
Clayton.
Johnny Clayton, that's right.
Yeah, he's
Bleach
kind of
salesman.
odd. Yeah, he's kind of odd too.
So
but she
Jake
definitely
basically
does.
threatens him into finally signing divorce papers.
And that there's that picture right there when he does, and she's kind of like, "Oh wow, he actually did it," and he's like, "Oh really? Yeah, cool. Yeah, good on me."
But he sends, of course, along with a note. He is not who you think he is.
Exactly. And also he's the one that took pictures of them making out in episode 3.
Also,
Jake,
I mean, close your curtains. That's rule number 1 when you're hooking up.
Right here, folks. Beard giving love advice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he
when you're at the Pound Town Inn, close them curtains.
Yeah, he does
Wrap
take
that
pictures of
rascal
them,
up.
and he puts them under the door. And at first, Jake thinks it's the CIA, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's this guy. And then the other scene with Billy, he's the other story story with Billy is he's falling in love with Lee Harvey Oswald's wife, because he's watching her all day and he's seen her get beat up and mistreated, and he talks to her at night. So he's there's all kinds of changes happening in time right now, and Jake has no idea, right? So Billy shouldn't be doing this. Jake shouldn't be hooking up with Sadie. There's all these things he's changing, and I don't think he realizes how much he is changing. He thinks it's very little, right? In the first video, we talked about how you put your finger in time. It's like, okay, cool, whatever, do what you want to do. He's really starting to go deep into the waters here, and he's changing some lives. So I think time is
feels like it's just waiting to hit him all at once.
Well,
and that's when you meet the man with the yellow card again.
I was gonna say you kind of you kind of like also the two, like, see like a moment where he's teaching like his class in current time, and they're all kind of just punks, and unlike the class he teaches here, where it's like everybody loves it.
Mm-hmm. He likes being here. He likes living in this era. You can tell he does. If he didn't have to do what he has to do, I think he would just keep moving on. But I still think time would still tell him, look, you're not really supposed to, again, you're not supposed to be here, type of deal.
So you're saying that he would do the Captain America thing and just not come back to modern time.
I don't know.
Stay back in time with his love.
Well, and that leads right into our what we were always thought, like the thoughts or theories of what's going on.
We kind of skipped over,
we did,
or unless we're still talking about it, but like what happens at the end of episode 4.
Why don't you say it? Why don't you go for it?
Well,
what do you want to say?
Her husband goes crazy and kidnaps her, and essentially he's trying to kill Jake, make him drink a glass of bleach, and blinds. Jake acts like he's going to drink it, and then throws it in his face and blinds him, and then they get into a fight. And
So do you think that's time doing that?
I didn't think that was time doing that.
So do you think this guy would actually? You think? I don't. If I have a feeling that these two weren't supposed to be separated, and time is adjusting that. Like something else could have been happening.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of took it as, she married the wrong guy. And now I feel like maybe like Jake might have intensified things, but
yeah.
So, did I watch the wrong episode, or did you watch the next episode after 4?
I didn't watch 5 yet.
Are you sure?
Because the ending of 4, she walks into a tape playing the audio that they've been recording.
Yeah, you watched a different episode, my friend.
Because she's taking a casserole or something to Jake's house, and she walks in the open door.
Did I watch?
The sound of Oswald and his wife having sex, and Jake walks in, and she doesn't know what to think. And then basically the show ends with him being like,
"Yeah, that's what I was like. What are you talking about, Bleach?
Move this man!"
Did I skip over an episode?
So you don't remember? You don't remember the divorce?
Well, I remember that, but I'm like, now I'm going. I don't remember it. It's stopping. I swear, it seemed like it kept going.
I think you didn't realize the show. You probably had autoplay on.
Oops. We're gonna have to
oops.
cut that out.
No, it's fine. We're gonna giggle about it. It's fine. Everyone's gonna have to laugh at you. That's basically
because when you started out with the line, her husband, and I was like, I wanted to say, are you sure? We don't see who puts the tape recorder in there, but then you went off down everything else, and I was really confused. I had to pull the episode up and check first.
Yeah. Way to go, R2. Good job.
Well, the folks out there, you've got that to look forward to next week.
Yeah, you got that to look forward to. So anyways, I think that's episode 5.
Well, good night,
but
everybody.
We will review episode 5 and 6 again next week. So don't worry. I'm sure people will forget about it. Alrighty, so thoughts and theories. We kind of already know what's going to go on in episode 5, but what do you think? How do you think this? Do you think how this is all going to happen? Like, what do you think's all going to kind of head up here? Like, do you think he's actually going to end up with Sadie, and he's going to, this is all going to work out for him? I don't think time would let him do that. So,
I mean, time wouldn't even let him call his dad.
I know. So do you think Time's is kind of fooling with him? Because you do see the man with the yellow card again in episode 4. Because he's the one that kind of messes with Sadie. But I think he's some type of time watcher. I have a feeling. He's like a watcher of time.
He's like the embodiment of time.
Right. I think he is time. And I just don't think they like what he's doing. So you're right. I have a feeling that they're not, he's something's gonna happen. So anyways, I won't tell you what happens in episode 5. Rick already did that. So anyways, my dog's laughing at you right now. Okay, so are you so we're excited obviously to talk about episode 5 and 6 next week. Beard will do another recap of episode 3 and 4. Hopefully he remembers. And this has been great. Rick turned off his video. He's just hiding.
I can't bury my head in the sand. That's all I can do.
How about this? We're gonna go ahead and do a quick little ad and about our nice, cool little hoodies. It's getting cold out there. It's raining over here by me. Is it raining by you, Beard?
Yes, not much, but it is.
Okay, so a hoodie would be perfect. So if you got a hoodie, if you want a hoodie, you can get one at mixtees.com after the weekend -logo and take 20% off with the code ATW20. And you should definitely check that out. Final thoughts on the episode, Beard, or the episode 3 and 4?
They definitely are slower, but I think it fits because
it kind of lets you kind of take a breather, like you said.
Well, but it also lets you kind of feel that these guys were living everyday life for years before.
Like, what would you do?
Where things actually happened again?
Would you be a teacher, or would you be a lawnmower again?
No, nobody wants to be teaching them.
What would you do in 1960? What would you do?
I don't know. I'd probably like find some garage to work on cars.
Okay, there you go. I would go the gambling route. I'd just be the gambler of the town. I wouldn't do anything else. R2, what would you be in 1960?
What would I be in 1960?
Yeah, what career would you want to do if you were gonna do this?
Yeah, that's tough.
He'd be selling spy gadgets so people could spy on their wives.
There you go. He'd be the guy
Yeah.
in episode 3 that sells all those nice gizmos. All right, I had
Look
fun.
what the Japanese created.
Don't worry, we're going to come back.
We're gonna come back.
Fun times. All right.
What do you mean? I would want to be like the old lady and work in a gun store.
Okay.
We need a gun. Get it this time. I'll sell you 5 guns for that price.
That's like your favorite scene in this whole episode, whole series so far.
Yeah, I'm like, that lady's awesome. I want to go buy guns from her.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for showing up for the channel and watching these episodes for it. And you also got a little sneak peek into episode 5 for R2. So I appreciate that. And Beard, anything you want to say before we head out?
No, I think we've covered it all. And then some.
All right. See you, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Good night.